API is application program interface. Okay, in nowadays the current world, right? All the applications are based on API. Okay, so all the applications are based on the API. So it is application program interface. So I'm not going all these definitions and all. I don't have an right idea of going in all the definitions. Okay, so API is all the leading all you take all the applications, right? API plays a very important role. Okay, let's understand the API first. Okay, let me take in right one application called Make My Trip. Okay, Make My Trip is one of an application where it right, gives services of booking a ticket, booking a hotel. For example, you take the two things. It books tickets of all the airlines across the globe, okay, and hotels across the globe. Okay, so like it is an right, it is an application where it integrates with lot of applications. Okay, suppose right, I want to book a flight in to Make My Trip for a Jet Airways, right? So what happens? No, it connects with Jet Airways, so and gets the data from the Jet Airways database. Instead of Jet Airways people, instead of showing the Jet Airways application, they will give an API. API is nothing but a set of rules and protocols or some formats where it restricts some things and give you something. Okay, I same like we'll have an abstract class, something like right. We'll have a partial right thing only. We'll get not the entire thing. Okay, for example, I want to search a flight. It will just search a flight. Okay, I just want to only search a flight. Okay, it gives some right restriction so that I can search a file, not get the entire details from the database. Okay, so they will give an API so that right, so that should be tested and it should be fetched data and it will be given to the make metric. Okay, so intermediate API should be tested properly. That's the most important right, key important thing. So in all application nowadays, the current real world application all has an API, it should be tested. Okay, so now there are two ways of testing an API, right? One is through manual, Postman, SOAP UI, we can test, and next one is through automation. There are a lot of right tools in market. One commonly used tools is REST assured. REST assured is for Java, request is for Python. Okay, and REST sharp is for C sharp. Okay, for different languages it has different libraries, right? So normally if you take a Java application, you'll take REST assured. Okay, now next one is right, there is the common tool which we use it for manual right testing is Postman or software. Today we are going to see a demo about Postman. So Postman is a tool, API for tool, right, for building APIs and to test check the request and response of a particular API the endpoint. That is where the Postman comes. It is nothing but a small tool where which we can test our API. Generally, there are different HTTP methods, right? In the right in the while testing an API, one is a post, get, put, patch, delete, and head and options. Okay. So today we are going to see a demo of right post, get, put, patch, right, right, and if possible delete. Right. So we'll see the demo of all these five. Okay, so let's see one by one. Post is nothing but creating a resource. If I want to create a resource or to create a new data, I'll go for post. Okay, if I create a data, I want to get and see whether the data has been created, I'll go for get method. Okay, put means updating a resource, right? Updating a data, it will go for a put. Patch means a small particular part if I want to change. If I want to change one line complete thing, I'll go for put. Only a small data I want to change, I'll go for patch. Next one is delete, and then we have head and options. We'll see one by one. Okay, so all these things are different HTTP methods, right? While we are testing, right, for the methods which we use for testing and API testing. Okay, so now let's go and see the further things. For testing an API, we need an endpoint. Okay, so endpoint, what is an endpoint is right? It is nothing but a combination of base URI, resource, path param, or query param. So it is nothing but a combination of base URI, resource, path param, or a query param. So what is a base URI? Normally it's a base URL, right? So it is right, for example, https google.com. It is nothing but a base URI. Okay. Then if you see slash web, then if you see slash web, so this is called as a resource. And anything which is starting after a question mark, that is called as query param. Okay, if you don't have a question mark, you have some parameter, then it's called as a path param. For example, I take an amazon.com is a base URI, slash orders is a resource, slash 150 is a path param. Okay, so if we take a standard example, right, to take Google, I hope you are listening. in google.com, I type testing. Okay, I'll type testing and give enter. Okay, so if I copy the complete the URL, right, and paste it in notepad. Okay, so these are the basics. I'm very sure you know it, but even though you know basics, let's see. Okay, see now this is has a whole is called as an endpoint. This is called as a base URI, and till search is called as a resource. Okay, till search is called as a resource. After anything after a question mark, it's called as an right query param, where all this the text is an encrypted one. So this as a whole is called as an endpoint. We need endpoints to test an API. Okay, so this endpoints and all developers will give right, they will give in a contract document, or it will be given in a board, so that we are writing right, we are going to test that in our real time application. Okay, now let's go to the PPT again. Okay, so now let's go to the PPT again. I'll come down. Okay, so next you should understand what is URI and URL. It's a very basic thing. The URI abbreviation is Uniform Resource Identifier. URL is Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, URI cannot be URLs. Okay, because they can indicate either name or location. URI indicates either name or location. URL only contain location. All right, it contains only the location. Okay, the next one is right. There is an right is ISBN, right, is an example of an URI. Whereas this one, right, if you see URL, right, HTTPS data flag training is an URL. Okay, so URI is a protocol and a designation, a specification, or anything. But URL is nothing but an HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, like that. It's a protocol. Okay, but it is a designation or a specification. So that is the basic difference between an URI and a URL. Okay, so URI is nothing but Uniform Resource Identifier, and a URL is nothing but Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, this represents a location where this indicates either a name or a location. Okay, so next thing is like these are the four code operations just before we saw get, post, put, and delete. These are the four methods we are going to see a sample now. After seeing an example in Postman, let's go to the rest assured. But here we are going to see how to integrate with CI/CD pipeline, how to run with the collection, how to create an HTML report. Okay, so we are going to step by step. We have to see right how to check the API using the Postman. We have a small endpoint, our C2T endpoint. With that, we'll see. Then we'll see authentication and all. Right, slowly we are going to increase it. Okay. Next, right. Next one is authentication and authorization. Okay. Authentication is nothing but right, giving username and password. It's nothing but verifying the user. That is called as authentication. Who are you? Okay. Authorization is giving permission to the user. Like this guy can go get data or delete data. Right. So authorization is giving permission to the user, whereas authentication is giving right, like authentication means like this is the right person, right? Yes, Mr. Rahul is going to use this endpoint. Okay, so authentication and authorization is a process. Authentication is a process of verifying the user, whereas authorization is a process of verifying what the user can access. Okay, so that is a key difference between authentication and then authorization. Next one is right, what are the methods of authorization? We'll see basic OAuth 1.0, OAuth 2.0, Barrett token, generating a signed JWT, API key, Hog and Digest. We will see some authorization in our learning. Okay, not the entire one, but some part. Normally we use right basic auth. We use Barrett token. Mostly we use in right, and API key also. Right, we use OAuth, right, like we can use in the real time projects. Okay, so these are all the authorization methods which we use in the API. Okay, so nothing but giving access to a particular user to access something. That is the purpose of right, authorization. Okay, I think you have any questions, guys. Okay, let's go directly to the right Postman. Next is collections. This will see everything in the right the tool itself. Okay, now let's go and create a collection. Collection is nothing but a set of API requests is called as a collection. A set of API requests is called as a collection. Let's create a collection first. We'll create a collection. We'll create some right HTTP methods. Then we'll run as a collection instead of running as an individual API request. Okay, now I'll go. Okay, okay. Now what I'll do is right. I'll go create a new collection. Click the plus icon. Okay, a blank collection. Okay, I'll give a collection name to now. C20 a workshop, right? Something like that. You create a collection name. Okay. Give. Okay. I'll give a like workshop something, right? Workshop C20. Now, what I do is, right, first I need to create some requests. See, as we saw, we have four HTTP methods. We'll check it, and then we'll run as a collection. That's the plan. Okay, then we'll generate a report. Then we'll integrate this in a pipeline, and also we'll see a demo of the authentication. We'll see the example of a data-driven testing, parameterization, and also I'll check the performance testing of the APIs also. Okay, so this is the plan for the morning session, guys. Okay, now let's create an API add request. Okay, we'll have a post request. Okay, we'll have a create a request, and the method name what we are going to see is a post. As I told you, post is nothing but creating a resource that is called as a post. Okay, so we need to create we are creating a new set of data, right? For that we are adding a method post here. Okay, now we have to get the right this one, the contract document from the developers, or it will be the board, Jira board or Azure board, this endpoints and the request and the response. Okay. So now what we are going to do is, right, we are going to copy the base URI which is given in the endpoint. This is our own personal endpoint for learning purpose. Now, right, we'll give an endpoint. Now we have to add a resource here. The resource is API slash insert.php is a resource dot. Now let me copy the resource and paste it in the Postman. Okay. Now we have to send the data here. Data we normally send, right, in the form of JSON. JSON means JavaScript object notation. What is the difference between JSON and other thing is JSON is a lightweighter one. Okay. The purpose of JSON is to carry the data. Okay. For that, what we should do is, right, we have to go to the body, click raw, then we have to click the JSON, then we have to select the JSON, and we have to copy the request from the developer, and we have to paste in the Postman tool. Okay, now the request has been pasted. Let me change to title workshop. Okay, now let's now we have to save the request. Now everything is set now. So as a whole, this is called as an endpoint. Okay, as a whole, this is called as an endpoint where it has a base URI and a resource. We are given a request body. There are two things: request and a response. Request is nothing but a data which is sent from client to the server is called as a request. It does through a JSON, carries the data, and thus goes through a protocol called HTTPS. HTTPS means secure hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, so it's going to go through via the protocol and carry the data via JSON, and the entire thing is called as endpoint. Okay, so now we are going to send a request through JSON, and we are going to get a response through JSON. Okay, now we are going to click the send button. Now you see the response, right? We got message data inserted successfully, and if you notice, right, you got the status code OK 200 OK. Okay, we got the 200 OK status. Okay, now we got the 200 OK. Then we got the time, like milliseconds, and the size of it. Okay, so this is how we should post request. Okay, and get a response, and we have to validate it. While validating, we should check the message, right? Data inserted successfully, and we are getting the status code 200 OK or not. This is what we are going to check as for this endpoint. Okay, now let's go and create a new request. New request is get request. Now we are going to retrieve the resource. For that we use retrieve request. Retrieve request. For that we are going to use a method HTTP. Okay, guys, wait. Let us see authentication and all in a step-by-step manner. We are just seeing a very basic one here. Okay. Now let me take the base URI of a get, which also is given by in the contract document by the developers. Normally, developers used to create this right endpoints. Right, they will create it, and he is going to copy the resource. Okay. Now the endpoint is ready. Now what we should do is, right. No need of body here for the get resource. Now we are going to click send and get the overall the entire ID, and we are going to check our ID which we posted at the last. I think it will be last. Now the ID is 14943. Now this we are going to pass as a query parameter here. Okay, now the key is ID and the value is here. Value is the ID, the value we are pasting it. Now you send, right? If you notice, right, there is a question mark which is generated. This question mark is nothing but a query parameter. Anything after a question mark is called as a query parameter. Now it is ID equal to 14939. Now we are going to click the send button and we are going to get a response only for the created ID in the post. Okay, so if you notice the request from the post and the response in the get, both are same. Guys, can you hear me? Am I audible? Are you all good? Learning something or just going? Okay, good. Now let's go. We did create and we did reply. Let's go and update it. Update request. Okay. Now update request. Let's change the HTTP method. The update request HTTP method is good. Okay. Now we'll paste the endpoint will paste the resource. Forget we no need request body, right? But for update we need a request body which will be given in the contract document. We'll copy that. Okay. Now I'll go to body, then raw. This is also going to be sent via JSON. Now we'll copy the ID which we got in get. ID we are going to change, right? Change it to 14943 workshop. We'll change it to workshop or we'll change the author as Rahul. Instead of Rahul, we put Mr. Rahul C. Next one is API testing. Body will change it to testing. Okay. Now what we do is, right, we're going to click send and we got the response message data updated successfully and we got the status 200. Okay, 200 status also we got, so we can validate. Okay, now what we should do is we should go to get and see whether that has been updated or not. Okay, now we can go and click get. See, now it's been changed, right? The response has been changed in get. Now other is toggle C and the body is being API testing. Got it? So now get post and update is working. Now we go only for the last one, that is the delete request. We'll add a remove request or something like that. Delete request. Okay. Now we'll select the HTTP method. Okay. Now let's go and copy the base URI. Okay. Now I'll copy the resource. Okay. Now I'll copy the request. Request we are passing only ID here. Body, raw, JSON, and paste ID. And change only the ID here, which we gave in the get and update. Okay. Now let's send a request. Now the 1 minute. If we delete, normally in real time they won't have they won't give a privilege of access of deleting. Since it's our own API, we have this access. Okay, this is called authorization. Okay, so giving access to a particular request, that is called as an authorization. Okay. Now if I delete, the created resource will get deleted. Okay. So if I click send button, post deleted successfully. Now I'll go and check reply. We'll see that ID won't be there. Okay, you can see, right? No post found. So now the request has been deleted. Okay, now the request has been deleted. So these are all the four code operations, basic operations. Normally, API manual testers and the automation testers will use it. Okay. Now, what we do is, first thing what we do is we'll run as a collection in the first in the tool and also in the command prompt. We'll generate a report. Okay. Now we'll go to run collection, run manually. Then we'll give how many iterations we want. One or two iterations we'll give two. One will give one. Then one run workshop C2TA. Okay, let's go to test. 1 minute, we have to do one thing. We have to go to test. We have to create some write code, small code, so that it's going to validate something. Okay, for validation purpose, we have to go to step, and then what we should do is we have to. Okay, there are some validation. For example, response body contains string. The status code is 200. So there are some validations. If we click that, default code, JavaScript code is getting generated. That is used for validation purpose. That we get check in the report. We can get it. Okay. So these are different validations the postman has given. We need to select some validation so that the particular collection is getting validated with all the four requests. Okay. So now let's go and check, select any validation status code 200. That is the first thing. Next, what we'll do is okay, let's validate these two alone now. Okay, we have to create the validations for all the requests. What are the validation requests we need? We need to create set the validation so that it's and report is getting. Okay. For each request, we need to go to test and write a small snippet for it's getting validating the response. Okay. Now I'll run as a collection. Run first me I'll set an iteration, then I'll run as a correction. Can see right all the requests has been validated. Check the status code, it's 200 okay, and the validation is also done. For every request, the status code is checked, the content type is present. See, if you write the JavaScript validation, you can see in the result it is getting validated. Same thing like automation we can do in the Postman itself. Okay, and if you notice, right, two times it has been iterated, two times it has been executed. First iteration done, all the four requests done. Next, it's going for the next iteration. All the four requests has been run. Okay, so this is how we can do iteration wise also. Now let's go to command prompt and generate a report now. Okay, we need to download first Node.js in our machine for that. Okay, so I already have a Node.js in my machine. For that I need to go to command prompt now. I have a Node.js in my right machine already. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll go to this URL and download the Node.js. Then I'll go to the command prompt. I'll give npm install -g newman. Okay, they should be installed in our machine. I already have this, but you have to type this command, right? npm install -g newman. Okay, then we can go and run the collection in the after installing this. We can run the newman run in the collection here. Okay, now we'll go run the postman collection here. Newman. First, what we should do is we should export the collection outside, okay, and save it. Okay, we have to export. Go to the collection, go to export. Then we have to save the collection and export it. Okay, if you export and keep it in your desktop or some folder which you have. Okay, I'm keeping this collection somewhere outside in my machine. Okay, from this I have to run this collection and generate a report through a newman. Okay, now what we do is we'll go to the command prompt again. Now the collection is not saved. Let me save it in the desktop.